Hello, and welcome to an adventure like no other. Far more than what you have known, there is something far more to be known than you can ever know. And it is all about you, the real you, your real awareness with your intuitive senses. You were never taught that the real you, your real awareness, is operating 5 bodies in cause and effect, restricting creation. You have been taught to think that you are only a one-dimensional human person, with a mind and emotions, and with a very short lifespan on this planet Earth. More than what your mind can grasp is your intuitive senses that can be opened to see beyond all your restrictions. You have always had an opening to see beyond what you have known, and this has been purposely kept from you, and this is where you have heard rumors and stories about your nightly dreams. Your so-called dreams is your opening to your intuitive senses that will allow you, the personal you, to excel beyond what you have previously known. Everyone has intuitive senses, and very few people take advantage of what is possible by recognizing something more than their mind can understand. Creation has its place for all of us, and then there is all life, which is far more than anything than what can become with creation. Everything we experience is necessary for us to survive with whatever we choose and decide our life to be. New Kevin Smith is the great witness to something more than what can be taught and learned in any school. It can be so that when anyone first listens to Kevin's intuitive side experiences, also known as real side experiences, from what their personal mind has known, Kevin's manner of expression will at first be rather different to comprehend. This is where this introduction and reading the new books and Facebook groups will help. Have fun deciding. DUANE the Great Writer and Seer.
The imperative of every real awareness will be the recognition of the true reality the all is, that all real awareness is a part of. As the all is an everything reality, this recognition is achieved through a comparison to that which it isn't, and that which isn't everything must be something. The creational simulators afford the means by which that which isn't everything can be experienced, in that pieces or parts of the isness, as created via the body-vehicle mechanics, thought and emotion ideas are formulated as a consciousness. The consciousness, then, is the programmed idea construct, as according to each individual's design, which effects also body forms with the mechanics to render the ideas into a simulation then experienced. The equivalent of programming a computer game, inserting the files of data into a virtual reality headset, and then wearing the headset apparatus to experience the results. Afforded then are our all-is recognizing comparisons for everything we create via the body forms, the thoughts, considerations, attitudes, convictions, and assumptions will be the isolated, from the isness everything ideas of consciousness that we experience the simulated effects of through the body form mechanics. Everything created then will be what the all is not, and as we compare our created ideas and corresponding simulation effects, that of the personal self and creation, with our true positions, that of the nowness of the real awareness isness, aside from consciousness, thought, and emotion, eventual determining of the difference will be realized, and recognition of the is will be established. As we each idea program our consciousness in any way we desire, we can effect for ourselves any simulated situation, lifetime, and creational position we choose. Additionally, can we manifest body forms that the real awareness animates through, of any appearance imaginable, imbued with whatever capability, skill, or attribute conceivable. regardless of our experience and the design of our body type, all will present as nothing other than comparable references for all is recognition. In essence, then, what we create, regardless of its nature, is of little importance. As DUANE has always stated, nothing is negated in creation. We all simply create whatever we decide for ourselves, deal with the effect outcome, with the realization of what creation actually serves as, a process and means of recognizing the true reality from, nothing more. As I mentioned, we can design our body forms that they can be very physically formidable, or possessing of whatever ability we choose, including, as an example, the utilizing of the psychic science facility of the ethereal body vehicle. But as we each are the deciders of what we experience, regardless of the might and capability of other body types, their ability to impose upon our experience or body form adversely is dependent on the ideas that they can, being installed in our consciousness. For as it is the ideas of the consciousness that dictate our experience, absent of the idea that another can harm or eradicate me, this cannot be my experience in relation with such a being, regardless of their best efforts to do so. Where it comes to very creationally powerful beings, such as the reptilian life-level gods, that they have the ability to exercise this power on a vast simulator scale reveals they have been rather successful in trawling the agreement from the simulator multitudes on an equally massive scale that this can be so. Agreement to the power of others over us will be the insertion of the idea into our consciousness that another body form can adversely impact our experience, and so it is that throughout multi-dimensional creation, many body types have established such a power base, having secured the agreement that ensures such a position. In this real side experience would be revealed another example of a particular body type as effected from consciousness decided design, a group of creationally powerful beings, and with the ability to exercise their power on a vast simulator scale, made possible through agreement they had trawled, enabling this to be the case. They resided in a rather forbidding region of creation, for not only were their developed abilities extreme, the agreement they had secured allowing them to exercise their abilities extensively, but the manner by which they chose to operate in creation was abrasive, destructive, and as we always are the effect of ourselves, creational positioning and body form will reflect in equal measure our choices and actions, hence the rather uninspiring dimensional position they had secured for themselves. Their body type design comprised of a fluctuating shadow seemingly, rather insubstantial, more ethereal and lacking solidity, but adorned with robe-like attire regardless, and they had developed themselves that they possessed of extraordinary creational manipulative ability, what might be referenced as extreme magical prowess. Where they sat within the Dark Force controller hierarchy wasn't made apparent. Very likely they would have association with the Dark Force reptilians, operating with malicious ill intention as was their general inclination, but our primary objective on the real side, and indeed the physical, is to approach every being and body type, irrespective of their form or life choices, and present them with the opportunity of recognizing the all-is, the new you, song, connection, etc. For regardless of how we have chosen our simulator experience to be, and in relation to others, underlying it all is this real awareness with the same all-is recognizing imperative. As we go through our lifetimes, as we make our choices, as we position ourselves in creation accordingly and assume the body types we do, we will make the various associations and connections with others whose intent and inclination has their experience converging with our own. As it is the ideas of consciousness that dictate our experiences, these would include the ideas that are the body forms of all those we had encountered throughout our lifetimes. Every idea then, including those of all we had association with, will be stored in consciousness and then transferred to the subconscious backup filing system, if you will, each lifetime around, where we have secured a new body form and memory vehicle devoid of experiential reference. Our consciousness construct represents doorways and conduits to all beings we ever had affiliation with. The ideas that are the individuals that featured throughout our lifetimes allow that we can feature in their experience at any moment of our choosing. For as our computer, so to speak, holds a certain file, we can click on the file and render its nature on the screen at any moment we desire, as an analogy. I have revealed over the years, on previous real side experiences, my various and assorted lifetimes, many of which are not especially admirable, and where I would be operating often as these demonic, reptilian type characters, and in association then with others of a similar nature. It would be revealed to me in this real side experience that during a particular lifetime I was one of these creationally powerful shadow beings that I mentioned earlier, and therefore the ideas that were as that lifetime, the creational positioning, and the other shadow beings that were my associates, will be part of my consciousness, allowing then my ability to trespass into the midst of these shadow beings at any moment of my choosing. DUANE has mentioned that for those on their awareness processes that have these rather dubious lifetime backgrounds of dark force affiliation, these present as potential connections that can be taken advantage of. As I mentioned, I will have a backdoor pass, so to speak, where I can encroach on the experience of such body forms, confronting them and/or affording them the all-is opportunity. I wouldn't be alone in my engaging with these shadow beings, but accompanied by a group, and with the intentions of confronting them over their continued abrasive and destructive choices. Impressions revealing that, as I said, I was once as one of these shadow beings, but at a certain point alternative ideas were created and a consciousness formulated, effecting for myself an altogether different body form expression, more along the reptilian lines, though operating just as abrasively generally, and where I would have a succession of lifetimes, more as this reptilian body type design. The shadow beings had practically eternal lifespans, and so for those who become as alternative body forms, so this would have been a decision on their part during a lifetime as one of these beings, as opposed to the body expiring and projecting into an altogether different set of circumstances according to intent, agreement, etc. Although the shadow beings were not indestructible, it was possible then that they could be eliminated, agreement always dictating the ability of others to be the delivery mechanisms of our eradication. Impressions further revealed that although the group I was with were not once these shadow beings as I was, they were among the reptilians I did associate with throughout the many lifetimes that followed, where I was predominantly reptilian, although in this experience they were operating in human form, either as human now or maybe still reptilian, but adopting this alternative outer guise. But anyway, the opportunity of engaging with these shadow beings was afforded by virtue of my past lifetime affiliation with them, my group of former reptilian associates also along for the ride, and I would indeed confront the shadow beings, revealing the real purpose, that of ears, recognition, etc. My interaction with them was rather nonsensical from my personal self-perspective. These shadow beings were of a particular consciousness-affected design that had them present as rather incomprehensible, though the real awareness, as part of the isness everything, animating through all consciousness-affecting form and feature as it does, can access whatever is required, that interaction with any being in creation, regardless of their consciousness design, body type, or the form that their communication may take, is made possible, and impressions revealed I was successful in delivering what I intended to convey. And now it would be for the powerful shadow beings to consider and decide if they embraced such an opportunity, that of recognizing the ears, or continued to operate abrasively, as it's always a choice individually. The scene would switch. I now would be in the presence of a group of individuals, human in appearance, their identities unknown to my personal self, but impressions revealed that the house we all were in would in actuality be representing the consciousness of one of the humans in my presence. For our physical level recreated homes on the real side invariably represent the consciousness, and that we can feature within the experiences of individuals. So agreement to the idea of us must be extended. We become as a consciousness incorporated, and able to then symbolically be operating within the walls of the consciousness representing houses of others. Just as it was where I could make use of the ideas of my consciousness, where I could enter the experiential midst of the shadow beings, so the individual whose consciousness representing house we were in had a particular consciousness design, where certain of the ideas of it afforded effect conduits to particular dimensional positions that I desired to access. And indeed, within the walls of the house, portals would now manifest, and I would invite the individual whose house it was, and the others present to accompany me, as we accessed the portals and were teleported to various dimensional positions. The group were in awe of our adventures. The individual whose ideas served as portal conduits, completely unaware such resided as ideas in his consciousness, and my objective seemed to be exploratory, affording this group of humans that which would have them consider something else beyond their established routines, as though taking this group of humans under my wing, so to speak, and facilitating the sparking of their awareness process, that they might embrace the desire and intent to explore further into the unknown, and perchance ultimately culminate real intent for all is recognition. Interestingly, as we returned from our varied and assorted portal-afforded excursions, another body type would follow us back, making use of the conduit we had manifested for our journeys. A female form, bipedal, two-legged, though possessing of the head of an elephant, reminding me a little of the depictions of the Hindu goddess Ganesha, that although she didn't present as a god archetype, she had developed quite the creationally manipulative magical ability. She could alter her environment as she saw fit, and her body type additionally, as she would at one point assume the outer form of a four-legged panther. She seemed somewhat bewildered, as though she had perhaps inadvertently tumbled down the portal we had created, following us to where it terminated, and now was in a state of confusion as to her current whereabouts. She did, however, regain a semblance of composure, and we all would relocate to my deceased grandfather's recreated house, that, as I have shared before on previous real side experiences, doesn't represent the consciousness of my grandfather, but is an established meeting place with myself and the guides. I would present the shape-changing elephant-headed female to my grandfather, who was in attendance in the house. Typically, the guides will utilize the outer form of my grandfather also in my real side experiences, and this would be the case here. It seemed the female was of some significance, and the guide had business with her, despite the finding of herself in her current situation being somewhat accidental. But then, in reality, there can be no accidents in creation, where everything is effected from what is decided. I would leave the elephant-headed female in the guide's hands, and now relocate with my group to another scene and situation. As I said, it was as though I had the responsibility of this new group of humans, showing them some of the dimensions of creation earlier, and now, as I would elect to confront another group of abrasively inclined and creationally powerful beings, deciding to bring this human group along for the ride, so to speak, that they can bear witness to what would transpire. To even be in the presence of these particular powerful beings, I had to negotiate a series of obstacles that again made little sense to my personal self, but the real awareness orchestrating affairs would handle the particulars, and ensuring also the continued safety of the group accompanying me. Ultimately, I would engage with the group of powerful beings, as though necessary was it to conquer that which they had constructed as obstacles to prove my worthiness, that an audience with the beings was effectively granted. The same basic objective, that of confronting these beings over their continued chosen creational abrasiveness, and extending the opportunity of alternative options, to perhaps consider assisting the guides and DUANE with the various life and awareness beneficial projects and endeavors. For beings as powerful as these will be rather instrumental where such galactic operations are concerned, which in turn will alleviate the abrasive karma effects they have accrued for themselves through their destructive choices, and additionally I would afford them the real references and purpose that of all is recognition, coupled with the new you sound connection. Once again, this choice was theirs to make, and having delivered these options, I would fade from the scene with the group of humans I now was taking with me on some of my various adventures and activities, it would seem. showing them the creational, multi-dimensional ropes, if you will, and there the experience would end.
That's really cool what Kevin writes. It's very, very good, isn't it? It's a lot of fun. So here we are, dealing with whatever every single moment. So Kevin is the ambassador here, the great witness to his adventure here, because this is why he has been appointed to do this, is because he has an association. You know, these are like his relatives, all right? And so the adventure goes on here. This is why he was chosen and prompted to come into the new presentation and do this, and he's doing it great. And he's stepping up to these individuals. As I've seen this before, we've had people on the Skypes before that have had these relationships with these individuals that, just play with the psychic forces, you'll say, manipulating this and that. And it's not about awareness. It's about the ideas they have and control of some kind, etc. Seen it in so many different ways, and until people have the real understanding and awareness to see it, they're going to play the roles of control. And parents do this with their children, but they don't realize it. They block their children from being more aware. They control them. They mindset them in certain ways according to the systems, because we've all been taught to look to authorities. And life is not an authority. It's like the air we breathe. It's not about authorities. And so getting this idea out of ourselves and recognizing that life is awareness. We are all beings of awareness. And it's so cool. And that's the freeness. We free ourselves up from any kind of ideas or restrictions. And so we have guidance here. That becomes the reality. So again, Paul started off in a particular, that was the babysitting days. Got to let go of all that. Got to let go of all those ideas that were there. Even if Eckankar, as an example, were good today, it would not be good. Because again, it's self-limiting, just like all these spiritual paths. I'm connected to many groups on Facebook, etc., and I see all their pretty words that they lay out there and their blessings, and God created this and that and all different types of things. And it all goes nowhere. It's self-imploding. It creates cocoons for people. That's all to be passive and not actively aware and real. And so I'm very grateful for Kevin and everyone else that steps up, because again, it's doing something to activate the real awareness in people, because that's what life is, and that's how each one of us become more aware. If you don't, if you sit on your duff and just have your own personal ideas, you got nothing. That's real. And you'll be babied for a while, but after a while, you just be by yourself playing with your ideas. Just grow old and forget. Seen many people do this.